Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Okay. Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone. Let me share my screen. Okay. You can see my screen?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, perfect. So till now we have completed 4 sessions, and last couple of sessions were more focused towards understanding our own self. We tried to understand who we are. We understood what is this gross body that we typically see on day-to-day basis. We also understood about the subtle body within us, and we understood about our own self, that is the soul, right? Now this time we are going to get into a very interesting topic about why do bad things happen to good people and vice versa. So basically this topic is none other than understanding what is karma, what is destiny, all those kind of things. Typically people are very curious about astrology and those kind of stuff. uh, so we just want to understand how it really plays a very important role, because uh, if you recollect in the introduction class, we talked that there are 5 primary topics which Bhagavad Gita talks about. It talks about jiva, that is the soul, which we discussed in last 2 sessions. It talks about Ishvara, God, which we discussed in our session, who is God. Then it talks about Prakriti, that is nature, which we are going to discuss as a part of this session. It talks about Kala, that is time, which we will discuss again over here. And it talks about Karma, which again we are going to discuss here. So we will try to cover these 3 topics, Kala, Karma, and nature in our today's session. Okay. So, so there is a book actually. This topic derived its name from a very famous book which was written by a priest, this Harold S. Kushner. He was actually a priest, and he wrote this book, When Bad Things Happen to Good People. Now, the background behind this book is that Harold S. Kushner himself was a priest. He was preaching the message of God to a lot of people in churches. One day, it so happened that there was some kind of a mini war that broke out in his city. And in that war, his small son, he got shot. His small son, who was hardly like, he was less than 10 years or something like that, and he got shot and he died in that. And when he died, it was a very traumatic feeling for Harold S. Kushner. And he wondered that I have spent so much time in preaching the message of God, in serving God, and how could God do something like this to me? So that is the time when he wrote this book, When Bad Things Happen to Good People. Now, if you read this book eventually comes to a conclusion. Now, Harold S. Kushner did not want to conclude that there is no God, okay, because he himself has been preaching the message of God for such a long time. So he accepts that there is God in his book, but then he says that there are 3 things that God should possess. One is he should be omniscient. Okay. So what I mean by omniscient is that he should know everything. He should know the past, he should know the present, he should know what is happening where, and how and everything. I mean, he should be in full knowledge about things of past, present, everything, and future. So omniscient, he should be able to see things at that moment simultaneously. Then he should be omnipresent. He should be able to be present at any particular moment, at any place, any time. Okay, omnipresent. And omnipotent. Omnipotent is he should be all powerful. He should be powerful to control any situation at any time, anywhere, anytime, anyhow. Now, what Harold Kushner concludes his book by saying is that because I see my son, who was such an innocent child, but who got killed, it just proves the fact that one of these aspects is missing in God. So either the God is omniscient, means he knows that this is happening, and he is omnipresent and he is there, but he is not omnipotent. He is not powerful enough to stop the situation. Or he said, either the God is omnipresent, that is, he is there and he is all powerful, but he does not know it's happening there. He just doesn't know. वो इधर देख रहा है भगवान और पीछे कुछ तो हो रहा है. So he doesn't know. He is not omniscient. Or probably he knows, it's going to happen, and he is very powerful to even control the situation, but he cannot reach there. Bus miss ho gaya. He's not able to travel there for some reason. He's not able to reach that place. So this is how this Harold Kushner, he concluded his book. Okay, when bad things happen to good people. Now, naturally, those people who have undergone in their life some traumatic situations, some mishaps, some problems, and all those things, they kind of appreciated this book a lot, because it was more like, applying some kind, I wouldn't say applying some kind of ointment, but it was more about massaging their kind of false ego, or massaging their pain or their agony towards God. Okay, so that is why this book became very famous. But I mean, what to say about other people? Even we, at many a times, we question the presence of God because of many things around us. Many times people question, if God is there, then why there is so much suffering in this world? Why I have to go through so many problems? Why there are people who are starving? Why there are poor people? Why there is so much corruption? Why there are even evil people existing? How can God allow all these things? So, so many kinds of questions keep coming again and again, for which they fail to get any answers. And that is what we want to try to understand through today's session. Okay. So with this background about this session, we will move into this session. So the first thing before we actually get into the session is we want to answer a quick question. If you were asked to build a city, you were given a complete rights, you were made the designer to build a city or design a city, what all do you think is needed in a city? What are the more important things that you feel that are required in designing of any city? Okay, I don't want to get into that smart city concept over here. Okay, but in general, तुमको अगर बोला कि एक गांव बनाओ या city बनाओ, whatever, what all do you think is required, or what all different departments are required to have a good city built? So yeah, you all can quickly answer. Nevin Champrabhu, are they able to unmute themselves?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. Any guesses? अगर सिटी बिल्ड करना है तो क्या क्या आपको लगता है जरूरी है? What all different departments, what all different sections are required in the city?
Prabhuji, we need architect who can design the city. We need civil engineers to build the buildings. Then we need
No. So imagine you are the architect, you are the civil engineer. you tell ki what all things you would want to have in a city if you were asked to build a city.
So first of all, I want to have means people who can live in that city.
Okay, you need people. Okay, good.
I need a good environment for them, like good gardens, good food for them.
Okay, you need good gardens, probably farms, right?
Yeah, right. We need food for them.
Okay.
We need uh, yeah, at least these are the basic things.
Okay, anyone else other than these things, what all do you think are required in a city?
Prabhuji, schools, hospitals.
Schools are required, good. Hospitals are required. What else?
Electricity, water.
Electricity, okay, water, basic needs are
Yeah.
required. Okay, what else?
Prabhuji, prison.
Why do you need a prison?
Once you had told me when I asked you something like ki why do God put us to suffering? Then you had explained me this. So I think we need a prison so that whoever does something wrong, so for their reformation, we'll be putting them in prison.
Right. So basically you need law and order, right? Prison is a part of law and order, right? So you need law and order in governing any kind of a city or any kind of a structure. Even what to talk about city, even if the society in which you stay, right? There is also some kind of law and order. Some rules are laid out, some, all that law and order is required. If that is not there in place, then things can go haywire. I mean, there is always going to be that segment of people who are going to be miscreants, right? And they are going to try to take undue advantage. And in order that they don't disturb the other people who are, good, or who are living or abiding the rules, it is necessary to have such kind of sections. So yes, you very rightly pointed. See, there are many things that are very, very important in a city, but specifically this prison, which sometimes look unwanted, right? Prison is a place which, really speaking, I mean, it's a burden on the government. But still the government has to give a good amount of space within the city to build the prison. Government has to provide certain facilities in order to take care of the prison, because even for the prisoners they have to give everything like food, medication, shelter, everything they have to give, right? But the prison is still required, right? The prison is required for that segment of people who are envious towards the normal people and who create disturbance. So for those people, they, it is not that the government, for the government it's very easy, right? A government like, in a North Korean government, he might just pick up a gun and he might just start shooting people ki ye gadbad kar raha hai, isko uda do. But a government cannot be so cruel, right? So what the government does is, okay, these people, they cannot live with this segment of the society, so we will create a separate segment for them where they need to get reformed, right? So prison is nothing but a place of reformation, right? Now, when we study the scriptures and when we understand the scriptures, we understand in God's creation. Okay, when God created this entire creation, in that there are two sections. One is the spiritual world and the others is a material world. Okay, so the size is not quantifiable because it is unlimited. But if I have to give a division, so the scripture says almost the 3/4 of the creation is spiritual world and 1/4 of the creation is this material world. Now, what is the need of this material world, or what is this material world? So it is explained in the scriptures that this material world is a prison house. A prison house for whom? For the spirit soul to escape from here Okay, this is the solution. How do you get out of the prison, which we are going to discuss in our next class. But if you look at this material world and what are these different prisons, okay, what are these different prisons? So it is explained that in this material world there are 8.4 million species or 84 lakh of species. Now what are these 84 lakh of species? So there is a bifurcation that is given, that there are 4 lakh types of humans, there are 30 lakh types of animals, there are 10 lakh types of birds, and there are 11 lakh types of insects, reptiles, aquatics, trees and plants. So all this bifurcation is given in the scriptures. Now, if you look at this, these are, when we talk about trees, basically this is a different type of a body. A fish is a different type of a body. Insects are a different type of bodies. Birds, bodies, right? So this, the soul, he gets different types of bodies depending on certain activities that he has performed, okay, which we will discuss later. But when the soul enters this kind of body, he gets trapped or he is limited to the actions of this body. Matlab, agar if a soul enters into the body of a tree, or if a soul gets the body of a tree, then he cannot do anything other than just stand erect. That's it. और कुछ नहीं कर सकता है वो. If someone comes with an axe, the person can keep cutting the tree and the tree can keep crying internally, but he cannot do anything. वो ऐसा branch से उसको उड़ा नहीं सकता है, ऐसा मार दिया उसको, चल हट इधर से. That the trees cannot do because the limitation comes with that body. Similarly, the same soul, if he enters into the fish's body, he can only stay happy within the waters. But if he comes out, he will suffocate and die. The same soul, if he enters into a snake's body, he can only crawl. He cannot do anything else. He cannot walk, he cannot run, but he can only crawl. The same soul, if he enters into a bird's body, they can fly. When they get into an animal's body, they behave like animals. And when the same soul gets into a human body, then they get all the facilities that are available to humans, right? If you look at all these different bodies, they all have different limitations. Okay, these limitations we have already discussed in our earlier sessions, and these bodies are meant to stay in this material world. This material world itself has a lot of problems. These problems also we discussed. Dukhalayam ashashvatam. One of the common thing in this material world is this is a place of miseries. Just like a prison house, right? When a government creates a prison house, the government gives bare minimum facilities in the prison house. But the government does not make it a lavish prison house. अगर वो government ने वो prison house में ही अगर मान लो AC दे दिया, home theater दे दिया, सब facilities अगर उसमें देने लगा, तो वो कैदी सोचेगा यार बाहर से ज्यादा अच्छा है अंदर. I will not leave only. No, the purpose of a prison house is that the person within the prison house, he reforms himself. He reforms, he understands his mistakes and he reforms, and then he feels like, okay, I should go back to the normal society people and live like a civilized person. That is the purpose of a prison house. Similarly, we as living entities, at one point in time, the scripture explains, at one point in time, we were there in the kingdom of God. But when we realized or when we noticed that, oh, God is enjoying everything, we also want to enjoy like him. Normally, by nature, God is Vibhu, right? God is Vibhu. He is the creator, he is the maintainer, right? He has everything. In capacity, he is unlimited, we are limited in capacity. Just like, there is a fire and there is the spark of the fire. So just the spark of the fire, if you look at the spark of the fire, in terms of quality, it has all the qualities that the fire has. The spark also has light, the spark also has heat, the spark also has shine. Similarly, fire also has light, heat and shine. But a spark, when it falls off, it will not burn, or it doesn't have that capability. Rather, there is a high chance that if the spark separates from fire, it might just die down and dry down. But the fire is much larger. and it has lot of capacity of burning things. Similarly, God is Vibhu, he we have the same qualities of God, but in quantity wise, we are insignificant in compared to God. But when we are in union with God, rather when we are in alignment with God's desire, then we enjoy like God. Okay, now how do I understand this? Imagine there is this big, Ambani, right? So Ambani, he's driving his Mercedes or BMW or whichever the lavish car that he's driving. Now, when he is driving that car, so he is sitting in the back seat and the driver is sitting in the driving seat and the driver is driving the car. Now, Ambani does not tell the driver that, see, you have to wear a muffler and sweater because the air conditioner of the car is only for me. You cannot feel the cold. So please wear a muffler. He cannot tell him that, okay, your chair cannot have the same cushioning as my chair. You should put a, lakde ka chair over there and I will be sitting on this nice leather cushion chair. No, whatever facilities that Ambani enjoys in the car, the same facilities are available to the driver who is driving the car for Ambani, right? So he's enjoying the same facilities. But how long will he enjoy that facilities? As long as he is serving Ambani as per his desire. The moment driver thinks, अरे अंबानी छोड़ो यार, ये गाड़ी लेकर मैं ही घूमूंगा, then Ambani will throw him out from there, right? He will throw him out from there. Similarly, when we desired independent enjoyment from God, God is not an unkind person. God said, fine, my dear child, you want to enjoy like me? Okay, it is very difficult for you to do that in this spiritual world. You cannot do that. So he said, I will create a special world for you and you go and try to enjoy over there and see if you can enjoy. Okay. But God did not leave us alone in this material world. He provided us all the basic facilities through which we can enjoy. He provided us, हम लोग जो हवा, पानी, खाना, जो भी हमको लगता है, all the basic necessities of life. I mean, there is no factory that creates it. God has provided all those facilities to us in this world, right? And he's telling us that, my dear child, try to enjoy. But because of our envious nature, because of our self-centric nature, when we try to enjoy, someone else gets envious. And when they try to enjoy, we get envious. Yes. And those clashes, I mean, the classic case of the war that's going on right now, right? So these clashes keep on happening again and again and again. And eventually there is only miseries, miseries, miseries in this material world. The whole purpose of this material world is, at some point in time, we realize that we are in a miserable situation and we turn back towards God. Okay, that is the whole purpose of this material world. So if you look at this, yeah, so this is an example that when out of our false ego, pride, lust, anger, when we become envious towards God, then we are punished. But the way we are punished is we are put into a place where we can reform or transform ourselves. See, our क्या बोलते हैं, हमारी जो जिद है, right, of trying to do something independent of God is just like a small child, who tells the mother that I will cook the food by myself. A small girl, when she goes to the mother and she says, I also want my own kitchen. I also want to cook my own food. So the mother says, fine, my dear child, you cannot cook in this big kitchen because you will burn yourself. Rather, what I will do is, so from the market, she will go and buy her a small kitchen and everything, and she gives her to play. And the child plays for some time. And after some time, when she feels hungry, then she goes back to the mother and says, mother, now I am hungry, so please feed me, right? and the mother is also happily, she takes her child and she feeds her. Similarly, for us, that hunger is nothing but love. When we get frustrated out of this material world, seeing every person's, uh, you can say, fake love, then eventually we become hungry for that true love. And when we turn back towards God, God is ready to embrace us back over there and give us that true love. Okay. Now, someone might say that you say that this material world is a prison and I am a prisoner and all those things, but I don't feel like a prisoner. I feel I am free. I can do anything that I want. मुझे ये लगता है मैं वो करता हूँ, मुझे वो लगता है मैं वो करता हूँ. Some days I want to sleep a lot, I sleep a lot. Some days I want to wake up early and go to the temple, I wake up and go to the temple. So how can you say I am in a prison? I am doing anything that I want. That is our illusion. That is our illusion. It is explained in the scriptures that we all are bound by the three unseen ropes of material modes. That is of Sattva-guna, Rajoguna, and Tamoguna. Okay, mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance. Sometimes a desire is born within me that I want to eat very clean food. I want to wake up early in the morning. I want to do some kind of good activities. I want to be at peace. I don't want to trouble anyone. All these thoughts, all these desires are arisen from the mode of goodness. Sometimes I am very passionate about work, sometimes I am very aggressive about doing things. All this arise out of mode of passion. And sometimes I am very lethargic, I don't feel like doing anything. I just want to sit on the couch and eat some kind of junk food and just spend time watching the television and do nothing but just lay around and just look here and there. This kind of mode, or my tendency of procrastinating, कल करूंगा, परसों करूंगा, आज क्या करना है, कल भी तो छुट्टी है, this procrastination tendency, all this is in the mode of ignorance. These tendencies which arise within us, they all are bound by these different modes. And these different modes, they keep playing on us. Now, if you look at our habits, if you look at our food habits, if you look at our nature, all this can be very easily classified in one of the other natures. It can be either in the mode of goodness or in the mode of passion or in the mode of ignorance. Now, can we say that a particular person is always in the mode of goodness or always in the mode of passion or ignorance? No, not necessary. Okay. These different modes keep acting on us differently at different times and at different places. For example, I give an example, like say for example, there is a bus going. Okay. And in the bus, there are three people traveling. Rather, there are many people traveling, but there is one person. Okay. And the bus is going through a nice, you can say a hill station area. And when it goes through that nice hill station area, there is a very cool breeze that blows in that hill station area. And when all these three people or three boys, they look out from the windows, they find a very lush green lawn, okay, with beautiful trees around them, lot of flowers blossoming over there, and this cool breeze flowing and some nice spring water flowing over there. Now, the person who is in the mode of goodness, the child who is in the mode of goodness, what does he think? He thinks only if I can get to stay in this place for some time, I will so nicely meditate, in a very peaceful manner, or I will read some beautiful books or literature. I will, dive deep into myself. All these nice mode of goodness thoughts will come in that child. The second person who is in the mode of passion, वो कैसे सोचेगा, oh, such a beautiful breeze and such a green lush lawn, only if I could be here with my girlfriend, we would be singing and playing and enjoying and dancing and doing all kinds of things over here. That is in the mode of passion. And the third guy in the mode of ignorance, he would think, oh, only if I could get to this place, such cool breeze flowing and such nice soft grass over there and such cool shaded tree, I would sleep for my lifetime over here. This bus is such a bumpy place. So the situation is the same. Okay, situation is the same. The environment conditions are the same. But depending on the nature of that person, they will have different reactions to the same situations depending on which mode is prevalent on them. You get it? The whole idea is I'm just trying to explain that, how these modes play different parts in our lives. Okay. And these modes, okay, now there are many things that influence these modes. Now that itself is a big and a very complicated science, which Bhagavad Gita deals in detail. If you read chapters after 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, I mean, Lord Krishna talks a lot about these three modes of material nature and multiple things, multiple actions, activities in these three modes. Okay, but we are not going to get into so many details unless you have any specific question. But eventually, I mean, the Bhagavad Gita will go into much more details. But the point I'm trying to say over here is these modes are very complicated. They keep acting on us and we are enslaved by these modes. So these modes are just like different chains. जैसे कैदी को जेल में डालते हैं तो उसको चेन करते हैं, right? So because of the chains, his movements are limited. वो उतना ही सोच सकता है या उतना ही कर सकता है. So these modes, they are those different chains which bind us, okay, in performing certain actions. The fellow in the mode of ignorance can only think of sleeping. उसके अलावा कुछ सोचता नहीं है उसको. The guy in the mode of passion can only think about romance over there. But the guy in the mode of goodness, he will think about peace and all those things. So these are different ropes. Okay. Now, the interesting part over here is, even though the mode of goodness seemingly looks very nice and beautiful, but please understand, it is also a binding chain. Okay, it is also a binding chain. And because of these different modes, we perform different actions in that same situation. So just like we took the situation of that bus and this beautiful breeze and nice grass and all those things. So a person in the mode of goodness will perform a particular action. The person in the mode of passion will perform a particular action, and a person in the mode of ignorance will perform a particular action. And as we also understand from science, for every action, there is a reaction. For every action, there is a reaction. In Shastra, that reaction is explained in the term as either punya or papa. Depending on what kind of action you perform, you will either get a reaction which is either good, that is punya, or you will get a reaction which is bad, which is papa. And when you perform that action to suffer or enjoy the reaction, you again have to take a birth to enjoy that reaction. Say, for example, you perform a good action or you acquire a lot of punya karma, then you have to be born or you have to go to the heavenly kingdoms. And when you go to the heavenly kingdoms, there you get a lot of facilities for enjoyments. But when you enjoy that, Shine Punya Vishanti Lokam, Bhagavad Gita says, once your Punya karmas are done, then you come back into this material world. And फिर से चालू करते हो चक्की पिसना. See, imagine this material world is like an office. इधर काम करो, तनख्वाह मिलेगा. तनख्वाह मिलने के बाद, go to the spiritual heavenly kingdom is like going to a picnic. स्विट्जरलैंड गए हो या कहीं और जाते हो, पिकनिक में जाते हो. कितना दिन रहोगे? जब तक पैसा है तुम्हारे पास, and as long as you can spend the money there, till then. एक बार पैसा खत्म, come back. come back to work, start working. So again, you do karmas over here, you acquire either good or bad karmas, depending on that you go. You acquire bad karmas, you go to the lower species. Either you go to the lower species or you go to the hell, right? So that is how these reactions that they keep happening. Okay, so depending on our actions, there are different reactions. Okay, the cycle of reaction is also very, very complicated. So this, I mean, this is just a very funny picture, but you know, it's something like this, you know, the fellow sitting over here, he's just doing this, and guess what's going to happen next? The same thing is going to fall on his head, right? The same thing is going to fall on his head because it's going to come over here, and he might think, why this is falling on my head? The point is, he started from here. Okay, he is the one who performed that action. So this point, it actually answers the question of why do bad things happen to good people. Okay, now imagine there is a granary, there is a stack of granary, and in that granary stack, okay, so it's like a funnel, it's like a funnel stack, and in that stack, a farmer, he puts whatever grains he grows from the farm, he puts and he stores it over there, and there is a small outlet from that granary through which the grains come out, which he uses for his daily maintenance. Now imagine, you know, he puts one bag of grains, 100 kg of grains inside that. The capacity of that granary, say like, is 200 kgs, and he puts 100 kg for first year, and that 100 kg will last him for say 2 years. Now the first year he gets a very good crop, very good quality crop. So what he does is he piles up that granary, and in that granary the grains are there, very good quality. And the second year he gets very poor quality grains. So he piles up the second year grains again in that granary, and they are filled over there. Now when he starts removing the grains, the first year when he actually had a very good crop, he is getting good crop from the bottom. Now because the grains last for 2 years, the second year when he got a very bad crop, but still the storage is giving him good crop because it's stored over there. The third year, probably he might grow a very good crop, but now the bad crop which was piled up, it starts coming down, and he might wonder, what's wrong with this? I am doing good, the crops are doing good, but why am I getting a bad thing? He's getting a bad thing because he himself had stacked the bad crop over there. Okay, this is how actually karma works. We take multiple lives, right? We are born many times in different species at different times in different 8.4 million species, right? We don't even remember what actions we have done, good, bad, or anything. And we keep getting the reactions of those. There is a very classic story in Mahabharata, actually. In Mahabharata, after the entire battle of Mahabharata, this Dhritarashtra, he went to Krishna. When Krishna comes over there, Dhritarashtra goes to Krishna and he says that, Krishna, you are God, you know, I want to understand, you know, why it happened to me like this. I had 100 sons and not a single child of mine is still alive. But my brother Pandu, he had only 5 sons, and all 5 of them are alive and flourishing. So why with me? What did I do wrong? You know, you please tell me. I just want to know this. So Krishna says that, my dear Dhritarashtra, 50 life back, 50 lifetimes back, 50 lives back, you were a hunter. And one day when you went into the forest for hunting, you saw a very beautiful bird, and you shot your arrow with fire on the bird, and the bird at that point in time was with his family over there. So he had the female bird over there, and he also had baby birds in the nest, and they were 100 in numbers. Your fiery arrow resulted in killing of all those 100 babies. And when the male bird tried to fly from that place, because of the fire, his eyes were burned. As a reaction to that action of yours, you were born blind and all your 100 sons were killed. Dhritarashtra said, your 50 lives back this happened. Why it had to wait until now? So Krishna said, my dear Dhritarashtra, to be born as a human, itself requires a lot of punya karma. And to beget children also requires a lot of punya karma. So for 50 lives, you were acquiring the necessary punya to beget 100 children. Now you got 100 children in this life, that other reaction also came together and all of them are washed off. So this is how the cycle of karma is. It's very, very complicated. I mean, only a person who knows the past, present, and future can actually relate situations. But otherwise, it is very, very difficult to explain any particular situation. Like, for example, I remember in my previous company, I had one of my HR managers. She was a good friend of mine. She was Christian. So, so when we were discussing about spirituality, so she said in our culture, it only talks about after this life, either you go to heaven or you go to hell. So I told her that how can God be so cruel? How can God be so cruel that if, say, for example, if I commit some mistake in this life, then naturally I will go to hell. She said, yes, you will go to hell. So I said, for one mistake committed for a finite time, for eternity, God will punish me. Then God is really cruel, I told her. She said, हाँ, लगता है ऐसा ही है. And I asked her, okay, tell me one thing. What happens to those infant children who die after they are born within few months or few years, matlab before even they grow up, really, before even they are intelligent enough to do any kind of some bad activities or something, usse pehle hi agar mar jate, where do they go? She said, they go to heaven. Then I told her, won't it be a good idea that the moment a child is born, we should just kill the children? That way, at least you are, avoid. Oh, no, not like this. We can't do like this, Why should we kill children? But उनका उद्धार हो रहा है ना, वो तो जा रहे हैं ना heaven for eternity. Imagine, ठीक है, ये life का थोड़ा pain मिलेगा, but eternity is going in heaven. She said, nahi. Then I asked her, okay, tell me, what about those children who are born with certain disabilities, So why did they get the disabilities? I don't know why they got disabilities. So such kind of tricky questions, these people are not able to answer because they have restricted their philosophy. Actually, Christianity does not talk about only heaven and hell. Christianity talks much beyond that, which now they have, kind of manipulated the Bible, and that's how they have removed certain sections. But Jesus Christ himself talks about reincarnation. The concept of reincarnation is there in Christianity also. So the karma philosophy explains all these things. Imagine a person who has committed a lot of bad activities in a particular life, but for some reason he is not received any punishment in that life. The next birth, when he is born, that time itself he gets the reaction to that birth. That I'll tell you one more story, very interesting story actually. This story, it explains this whole cycle of reaction also very good. This story is there in one of the Puranas. The story is about, there was a sage. This sage had taken a vow of speaking only truth. Okay, he used to speak only truth. Okay, fine. Now, once upon a time, there were some evil butchers who were trying to kill a cow, and the cow somehow ran away from the butcher's hands. So the butcher started running behind the cow, and the cow entered into the ashram of this sage when the sage was sitting over there. The sage saw the cow going inside his ashram and hiding at one point. When the butcher came over there, the butcher asked the sage, "Where is the cow? Did you see the cow?" Now, because the sage had taken a vow of always speaking the truth, he could not speak lies. So he pointed, saying, "Okay, the cow is hiding here." And eventually, the butcher went inside and he slaughtered the cow, and the cow died. Now, this is a story that is explained in the Purana. Now, in another section of the Purana, there is another story that is explained, which talks about once upon a time there was a Brahmin, okay, a young, handsome, beautiful Brahmin child. This Brahmin boy, in his youth itself, he had decided about renunciation, brahmacharya. So he decided that I don't want to stay at home, so I will travel to different pilgrim places. So on foot, he started traveling to different pilgrim places. But while he used to travel on foot, naturally in the evenings, he had to stay in some or the other villages, and take some rest. He could not travel at night time. So one such day, he entered into a village, and in that village, he approached one householder. Okay, there was this one householder person, and he approached that man, and he asked him that, can I stay at your place today evening, and tomorrow morning I will leave for my further journey. The man was very happy to receive him because he saw that he is a very nice, young, beautiful, effulgent Brahmin, and I'm getting opportunity to serve a Brahmin. So very happily he welcomed him. He gave him nice food. He gave him water to wash his feet. He gave him a nice bedding where he can sleep. Okay. Now, during the middle of the night, the wife of this man, the wife of the man who gave shelter to this Brahmin, she had developed some attraction toward this young Brahmin. So in the middle of the night, she approached this young Brahmin and she asked her to have union with her. The young Brahmin, he denied. He said, "This is against dharma. I cannot do such activity." She said, "No, don't worry. My husband is very old and he will not know. He will not even understand. So let's enjoy." So he completely denied. The wife tried convincing this young Brahmin in multiple different ways, but the young Brahmin was not ready to accept her proposal. So in the fist of anger, what the wife did is she picked up a knife, and with that knife, she slit the throat of her husband in the middle of the night. And then she started crying and calling out loudly, "Save me, save me." All the villagers gathered over there. And she said, "This young fellow, he tried to take advantage of my old husband, and in the middle of the night, he killed him, and he wanted to enjoy me. See, now you all have come over here, so you all please protect me." So the villagers saw, "Oh, this old lady, poor lady, this young Brahmin, he came as a good Brahmin, but see how he has behaved." So they said, "Okay, we need to punish this Brahmin." But how do we punish the Brahmin? अब ब्राह्मण को तो सजा नहीं दे सकते हैं as per the Shastra laws. So they thought, okay, but we need to give him some kind of punishment. I mean, we can't kill a Brahmin, but we need to punish him. So they thought, okay, the hand with which they asked her, "कौन से हाथ से इसने काटा तेरे husband को?" So she just showed him right hand. So they cut the right hand of that Brahmin. So the Brahmin, poor Brahmin, वो क्या करता young Brahmin? वो तो गया ऐसे ही, हाथ टूटा हुआ, कलंकित हुआ, people were kind of giving ill names and all those things. And this Brahmin started traveling further, and he continued his journey. He went further. Eventually he landed up in this holy place where he was traveling. When he landed there in the holy place, after worshipping, he met some very great sages over there. And to one such sage, he narrated this entire thing that happened with him. And he said, I don't know, what I did wrong, because from my childhood, I have always practiced austerity and tapasya. I have never been swayed away from dharma. But in spite of that, see what has happened with me. So the sage then narrated to him that, my dear child, this is a reaction from your past birth. In the past birth, the lady who chopped off the throat of the husband, that husband was the butcher in his past life. The lady was the cow which the butcher killed in the past life. And you were the sage who pointed the direction, that this direction the cow has hidden. For that, you got the punishment of your arm amputation. So this entire reaction thing is been explained, okay, in the Puranas. And like this, I mean, even in day-to-day examples, even in the modern world, there are so many such instances about karma. But again, I mean, karma is not a simple logic. One thing is that we should understand, it's not a very simple logic which you can just tie up with some equation or something like that, because karma spans beyond lives. It is not just within one life. We understand things only within our perspective and within one lifespan. Okay, that is why we can never get this karma equation always perfect. Okay, but this is how the cycle of karma works. And this is how, I mean, when we understand the karma, then we also can understand the fact that why do good things happen to bad people, or why do bad things happen to good people. When things happen in our life which we never intended to happen, which we feel that why, I did nothing wrong, but still it has come to me, we should understand that it is nothing but a bad reaction coming from my own activities. Should I be happy about it or sad about it? Well, in one sense, you should be happy about it. Why? Because you know that your bad karma, which was still lying there, is now been utilized. अब वो कर्मा वापस नहीं आएगा. That bad karma, what? Unless you perform any more bad karmas. Okay. Similarly, good things, sometimes हम कुछ करते भी नहीं है, and all of a sudden we realize, my God, this is a very happy surprise I am getting. Good karma that I have received. All of a sudden, पता नहीं कहाँ से आ गया, but I am very happy about it. But you should also be sad because it is actually not the karma of this life, but some previous karma, that your good karma that is now coming your way. That means you have now consumed your good karma. Okay. So sometimes when we see there are certain people, we feel that these people are doing so many bad things, but still look at the way they are living, they are enjoying their lives and all those things. So understand that is happening only because of their previous good karmas. But whatever they are doing in this life, they will get reactions to that, sometime or the other. Now, who gives it, when they get it, and all this, that's not our botheration. Okay, that is, I mean, that entire governance is set in place and God takes care of that. Sometimes the reaction comes individually, sometimes the reaction comes collectively. कभी कभी क्या होता है कि there are many such bad karmis, उन सबको भगवान एक किसी तरह से एक जगह पे लेके आते हैं, and then all of a sudden there will be some kind of a natural calamity or a bomb blast or something like that, where all these people will be destroyed, and then all of a sudden they all get the reactions to their karma at one place itself. So sometimes karma acts collectively, sometimes it acts individually. The sophistication of its actions are very, very difficult to analyze, but the science of karma is a very well logically understood science, which now why is this science important for me? This science is important for me because it gives me peace. Simple thing. I get peace of mind. The moment I understand that the events that are happening in my life are because of my own actions, then first thing, I stop blaming others for that. Second thing is, I become peaceful with the fact that yes, probably something wrong I did in my past life and I'm suffering for that. but then I can improve on that. So I get peace. I stop accusing others. Eventually, it's a very positive feeling that I develop for myself. And that is how understanding of karma helps. Okay. So now if you look at um, this whole interrelation, right? So we talked about jiva, we talked about Ishwara. Now this jiva, that is us, that is the soul, in relation with Prakriti. So Prakriti is this material world which Ishwara created for us because we wanted it, because we wanted to enjoy independently of him. So he created it for us, just like a mother creates a temporary kitchen. Now this jiva in this material world, under the influence of these three modes, he performs actions which is called as karma, and for these actions over a period of time. So any activity is done over a period of time. That is how kala comes in picture, time factor. So jiva along with Prakriti performs karma over a period of time, kala, and because of that karma, reactions are generated, and those reactions entangle him further and further and further. And that is how this cycle of karma is very vicious. Okay, it is very difficult to get out through the cycle of karma. Like I I was studying one of the books on Ayurveda actually, and in that Ayurveda, so Ayurveda, when it studies our body structure, so just like we have these three modes, right? Rajagun, Tamogun, Rajagun, sorry, Sattvagun, Rajagun, and Tamogun. Similarly, in our body also there are these three things: Kapha, Vata, and Pitta. Okay, these three things are there, and the balance of Kapha, Vata, Pitta are very important. Now, it explains that someone who has vata, okay, someone who has vata, that person by nature is very flickering. वो एक जगह पे स्थिर नहीं रुक सकता है. Continuously he needs to do something because vata is a sign of air. और हवा कभी एक जगह रुकती नहीं है. हवा is continuously flowing. Hava is very light in nature. So this people, you will see, they are very thin, skinny, light. Hava by nature is dry in nature. Similarly, these people, the food that they eat is also dry in nature. उनको ऐसे रसीले चीजें अच्छी नहीं लगती है. They will like only dry stuff. They will eat a lot. You know, anything that is very dry, stale, those are the things they eat. Now, these are the symptoms of a person who is having vata nature. But now, if a person eats dry foods, then he aggravates his vata nature. देखो already वात है इसलिए उसका liking है उन चीजों की तरफ, and when he eats that kind of things, then he aggravates his vata nature. That means he gets more inclined to do. That means वो जितना he stays in that state, he gets more and more entangled in that state. Similarly, karma is also like that. You know, when you are in the mode of passion, you do passionate activities, and the reactions that you get, you know, they make you do more passionate activities, and that's how you get into the vicious cycle of, you know, action and reaction, and it is very difficult to come out of this cycle. Okay, so then the question comes that if I am in this material world, if I am bound by these three modes of nature, and within these three modes I am doing all this action and reaction, and मुझे पता नहीं मैंने कितने जन्म लिए हैं, and I don't know what all bad or good activities that I have done, so I don't know how long I have to stay, मतलब और कितने जन्म लेने पड़ेंगे, and in this janmas I don't know how many more bad or good activities I will do, because of which I have to take many more births. So looks like it's a non-ending cycle then for me. How do I get out of this whole cycle? So there is a way to come out of this cycle. Okay, and that is what is the discussion of our next session. The next session will focus on how can one get out of this cycle of this karma and actually return back to his original position in the kingdom of God or the spiritual kingdom. So that is what the topic that we will be discussing next time. That is what Bhagavad Gita actually talks about. Okay, so with this I will close on this topic. See, we actually have discussed this topic at a very, very superficial level, okay? Because when we study Bhagavad Gita, the same topic is covered in a very detailed manner, because there are different chapters or multiple chapters which cover each of these things in a very detailed manner. So when we study Bhagavad Gita, we will definitely go in much, much more details about this. But at this point, it only gives you a very overall high level idea about what it is and why it is. Okay. So with this, I stop speaking, and let me know if you have any doubts or questions on this.
प्रभु जी,
Yes.
लास्ट सेशन से है, ये जो सोल का आपने बताया ना, ये बैक्टीरिया और इन सब में भी सोल होता है क्या? ये वायरसेस एंड बैक्टीरिया,
Every living
बिकॉज़
entity,
दे आल्सो रिप्रोड्यूस एंड ऑल ना.
any living entity without soul, वो living entity हो ही नहीं सकता है.
Okay.
Depending on your activities. See, it is like this. अभी बैक्टीरिया में सोल आया तो उसको बैक्टीरिया का बॉडी क्यों मिला? Sometimes a question might come like this. It is simple. Say for example, I am working as a, or I am hired in a company as a manager. And in the morning, the CIO of the company comes. Okay, he had taken my interview and he hired me as a manager in the company. And he comes in the company, he sees me, I am working on my desk, he assigns me some job and all, काम देता है मेरे को, and I am working. After 1 week, he again, when he visits the company, he sees me on the door, standing at the door. And I open the door for my CIO, and the CIO says, तुम दरवाजे पे क्या कर रहे हो? And I tell the CIO, actually, you know what, आपने जो काम दिया ना, वो बहुत very complicated work. This is good work, just opening the door. Watchman वाला जो काम है ना, वो, that is a good work. I will do this only. I will not do. The CIO will say, अरे बाबा, if you want to do the watchman वाला काम, then I will pay you like the watchman, right? And you dress up like a watchman and you stand like a watchman over there. Okay, then I will not pay you the manager's salary. Similarly, this different species that I showed, right? If you go back to these different slides, these are these different species. Now the soul, if you see, in all of them, it is the similar soul that goes in all this thing. ऐसा नहीं है कि fish के अलग category souls होते हैं या मकोड़ियों के अलग category souls होते हैं. नहीं, the same soul, depending on what it does, can get a human body also and can get a animal or an insect body also. When a human soul behaves like an animal, then God says, अरे तेरे को animal, जैसे a human being, he says मुझे raw meat ही पसंद है and I like to eat day and night. And God says, actually the human body is not meant for eating meat. The way I have structured the teeth, the way I have structured your intestines and all those things, it is not meant for eating meat. But since you are so inclined to eat meat, then he says, I have a body which is very suitable for your desire. So I'll give you that body. And that is how the soul then in his next birth gets a body of a carnivorous animal. So like that, depending on our inclinations, our desires and our actions, we get these different kinds of body. So imagine the kind of thoughts and reactions that a person might have thought to get a body of a virus or a worm, so it's like that. So all these different bodies, if you look at it, they are nothing but representations of our own different desires. कोई लोग ऐसे होते हैं जिनको हर व्यक्ति का कुछ तो बुरा ही दिखता है. They are always envious only about those people. सोचते ये ऐसा है, वो वैसा है, इसके पास ये है, वो है. Always envying, always envying. Then there is a special body of a snake. ये by nature, इसका nature ही enviousness होता है. तो भगवान बोलते तू मनुष्य शरीर में क्या कर रहा है ऐसा? I will give you a very special body ना. You want to do only that, you go in this body of a snake. तो उसमें तो तेरे को करना ही वही है, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. It's like that. So that's how you get that body.
And one more thing, ये soul can be controlled by humans? No.
Soul can be controlled by human.
I mean, is it possible?
Now, what is a human? A human is himself is a soul, right?
हाँ नहीं, अभी मैंने कुछ देखा है ना, कुछ लोग करते हैं कि वो सोल को बुलाते हैं एंड ऑल, काला जादू एंड ऑल, सो दीज आर ऑल स्टुपिडिटी, नो?
No. So okay. Let's understand that what that whole thing is. The black magic thing you're talking about. The black magic thing. Okay. So see, basically क्या होता है कि there are spirits. Spirits मतलब souls ही. Okay. So we all are souls, right? Now, depending on the karmas that we do, we get different bodies. Okay, so say for example, I did some X amount of good karmas and Y amount of bad karmas in my past life, because of which I get this human body. Probably I did more bad karmas than good karmas, and that is why in this human body I get a lot of suffering. I feel the suffering is intolerable for me. So what I do is I go ahead and commit suicide. When I commit suicide, what happens is I am dead, right? So the body is dead. अब ये सोल बॉडी के बाहर आ गया है, क्योंकि बॉडी तो रहा ही नहीं उसका. अब ये सोल जब बाहर आ गया है, तो सोल, अभी ब्रह्मा इज द क्रिएटर, राइट? ही इज द इंजीनियर ऑफ आवर दिस यूनिवर्स. तो ब्रह्मा बोलता है, बेटा तेरे को तो मैंने ये बॉडी में 70 साल के लिए रखा था, तू 30 साल में कैसे बाहर आ गया? नहीं, बहुत पेन था वो बॉडी में, बहुत. तो ब्रह्मा बोलता है, बट टाइम तो 70 साल का था ना, तो अभी 40 साल बिना बॉडी का घूमना पड़ेगा तुझे. This is what we call as atmas. They are actually atmas, souls. But these souls are those souls for whom God बोलने से अच्छा, Brahma has punished them. Brahma is saying, I asked you to stay in that body for 70 years, but तू वहां से भाग गया, like जेल से तू भाग गया, तो अब 40 साल के लिए you have to stay without body. अब क्या होता है, this soul, this fellow soul, now he operates in a particular क्या बोलते हैं, space में, and the soul has desires, right? Every soul has desires, मतलब कुछ ना कुछ इच्छाएं होती है, हर सोल की आत्मा की इच्छाएं होती है, which the soul tries to fulfill with the help of body. Without a body, the soul cannot fulfill desire. He needs a body. So this body helps him fulfill that desire. अब ये लोग जो black magic जानते हैं, these people, they have the ability to attract such souls, and they entice them with the fact saying that we will help you fulfill your desires through these bodies. And that is how they do it. So black magic, yes, it is an art actually. Okay, it is a science. Now that science is not a science which you can just study from books, but it is a science definitely through which they can attract such souls जिनके पास bodies नहीं है, and they can manipulate these souls because the soul has his own needs, उसकी इच्छाएं है, and this fellow can tell him that okay, I'll help you fulfill the desire provided you do this, and that's how these people, they play with those things. So I mean, it is an art, and there are some people who are expert in doing that. So yeah.
I read somewhere like long back, they cannot be controlled by any human. Because Paramatma, that is how it is. Paramatma, like Paramatma is the main.
They are not Paramatma. They are
the humans are not Parama. I mean, the Paramatma, like the Bhagwan, can only control Atma. That is why he is Paramatma.
So Bhagwan can control Atma, but even see, अपने इसमें भी तो कंट्रोल करते हैं ना. अभी तुम जब जॉब करते हो कंपनी में, there is another soul in a particular body. He is assigning you work and he is getting things done from you. Is he not controlling you? So control matlab, it is not like complete 100% control, but he can make you do certain things for his own this thing with some kind of bargaining. तो उस तरह से वो कंट्रोल करता है. Not that he has a full control on that. कभी कभी it backfires also on them. इसलिए black magic is also very dangerous, because if it's not done in the right way, that same black magic can backfire on you.
Okay.
Yeah. So it is not like 100% control, but yeah, I mean, they can make them do certain things.
प्रभु जी, like for example, अगर हम कार ड्राइव कर रहे हैं तो कोई जैसे पिजन है, तो पिजन रोड के ऊपर बैठा है, अगर हम हाईवे पे ड्राइव कर रहे हैं और पिजन रोड पे बैठा है, वो उठ ही नहीं रहा, और अगर हम जरा सा भी राइट होंगे तो उधर से तो पीछे से ट्रक आने वाला हमें उड़ा देगा, तो हमें तो वो पिजन उड़ाना ही पड़ेगा इन दैट केस ऑल्सो, कि फिर मतलब हमें वो कर्मा का वो मिलेगा.
We see, we get reactions for every action. Forget about the pigeon thing, Mataji. Even when you cook food in your house, there are so many small microorganisms, insect germs that get killed as a part of cooking or cleaning of the vegetables. Even for that, we get reactions. Okay. So reactions, har cheez ka aata hai. Of course, the gravity of the reaction will differ. Like for example, if someone kills another person for his own self-defense versus someone kills the other person for his own enjoyment, even though the action looks the same of killing the other person, but because the intention is different, the reactions might vary, but reaction will still be there.
Understood, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So you cannot, I mean, it's not that you will not get a reaction, but I mean, different types of reactions. Some people, janbujh ke, I have seen sometimes on the street na, like sometimes these dogs, they bark. तो कुछ लोग होते हैं वो जानबूझ के, वो कुत्ता दूसरी ओर रहेगा तो उसकी ओर गाड़ी लेके जाते हैं sometimes, and there are some.
Actually, pigeon wala thing happened with me na day before yesterday, तो मुझे डर लग गया. I thought I'll clarify.
No, don't worry. I mean, in our next session, we will cover about how, such kind of things. See, there are so many things, but knowingly, unknowingly we do, and we don't even know whether, we have committed a mistake or not. Okay. So it's very difficult to keep a track and analyze and harek ka, nivaran karna. Like in Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a question raised by Parikshit Maharaj to Sukdev Goswami. Parikshit Maharaj says, I mean, this cycle of action reaction is so complicated. He said that I don't see any person who will not go to hell. He says, the way you have explained me, according to me, everyone will go to hell. So what is the solution from this? So there is an entire section that Sukdev Goswami discusses actually to Parikshit Maharaj, that how can a person be relieved from going to hell, So that is what we are going to cover in the next session actually.
Prabhuji, we have a soul, and we, as a body, we have a lot of other living entities like bacteria and other things in our body. We have soul. So how does this interaction work? I mean,
very interesting question. Thank you for bringing up this question. Actually, very thoughtful question. Okay. So firstly, it's not that we have a soul, we are the soul. Okay. So first thing. Now what happens is, there is a concept of Kshetra and Kshetragya, which is explained in Bhagavad Gita by Krishna. Okay. So there is a field. There is a field. Okay. And there is the owner of the field. Okay. There is a field and there is a owner of the field. For example, if my body is a field of activity, okay, so my body is a field through which I do different activities, and within this body, I, that is the soul, is sitting. So the soul has control over this body for doing different activities. Now within this body itself, say for example, in my stomach there are different germs or worms, whatever they are. तो वो worm के अंदर भी soul है. But that soul does not understand me, because for that soul, his field of activities is limited to the body of that worm. तो उसको उधर तक ही पता है, उसके beyond उसको नहीं पता है. Okay. So his field of activity is limited to that body of that worm. So even though the worm is inside me, it's as good as that another soul is also inside me, but that soul, his immediate field of activity is the body of that worm. So he doesn't know anything beyond that. Okay. You get the difference?
Yes, Prabhu.
हाँ, so ये जो point है ना, ये point भगवत गीता में it's explained in I think 12th or 13th chapter only about Kshetra and Kshetragya. It is explained very nicely, this point.
प्रभु जी एक और क्वेश्चन है.
Yes,
ये once someone dies, I mean the soul leaves a body, वो immediately दूसरे body को allocate हो जाता है क्या?
not immediately, but after some time.
What I mean, is there any designated time?
Typically after a year.
After a year, is it?
इसीलिए हमको वो सब श्राद्ध ये वो सब चीजें करना पड़ता है.
हाँ, मैं उसीलिए तो what is this 13वीं and all 13 दिन का वो करते हैं, that has some logic to it.
Yeah, there is a logic actually. It is explained in the scriptures that when a person leaves the body, okay, so जिस दिन वो मर जाता है, उस दिन the soul is still hovering around the body, क्योंकि उसका वो body के साथ इतना attachment होता है कि he is still trying to get back into the body, but because the body itself is useless at that point in time, the soul cannot go back into the body, and that is why it is said the first thing you should do is immediately burn the body as early as possible. When the soul sees the body burning, then उसका जो उस body के तरफ जो attachment होता है वो मर जाता है. It completely gets, वो निकल जाता है क्योंकि अभी body बचा ही नहीं है. Now what happens is, for the first 13 days, the soul is now getting ready for the journey that he has to travel from the Vaitarni Nadi all the way till Yamloka, okay, the planet of Yamraj, where there will be, उसका पूरा चिट्ठा निकाला जाएगा कि तूने क्या किया क्या नहीं किया, फिर डिपेंडिंग ऑन दिस where will you go, यहाँ जाओगे वहां जाओगे, ये बॉडी लोगे, वो सब उधर होगा. This journey from this world till the Yamloka, okay, it is some lakh miles, something 90 lakh miles or something ऐसा कुछ तो वो journey है, which he covers in a span of 1 year, okay. But for that 1 year to travel that journey, he needs a temporary body. That body is created when we do that pindadan. जब हम लोग वो पिंड बनाते हैं ना वो खाने के चावल के, so through that he gets that body actually. So those people, and every month normally you have to do that ideally. According to Shastra, it has to be done every month. But then there are some concessions in the scriptures also. So sometimes what people do, 13वीं के दिन ही पूरे 12 महीने के वो कर देते हैं. Okay. So whatever they do, that process is to give that soul a temporary body which enables him to go from this point till the kingdom of Yamraj. Okay. So this is how this happens. Now, what I talk to you is about a normal soul who, just goes through this cycle. But there are some special souls. When I say special souls, it's souls who do special activities. Like for example, जिस आत्मा ने भक्ति किया है, now he doesn't have to go through this path. Okay, if he has completed his bhakti, okay, then he directly goes to the kingdom of God. तो उसको एक अलग track.
No, that is fine. I was thinking the whole process which you repeated. अभी कोई मुर्गा काटता है तो उसका सोल का पिंडदान कौन करता है?
See, ये जो है ना, ये जो तुम ये सामने जो स्लाइड देख रहे हो, ये स्लाइड में only humans they have action and reaction.
Okay.
ये जो बाकी species जो है, they are all reactions for the actions that were done in human. तो मान लो ये औरत ने कुछ गड़बड़ किया है, then because of her action she might get a animal body. Now the animal body is a body of only suffering. Okay. तो उसको वो animal body में suffer करना है, उसके बाद में then this animal body it keeps on deteriorating. वो 8.4 million species में वो जाता है, दर करके जाता है, and then eventually it's a cycle, and at one point she will again come back to a point where she can again get a human body like that. So this ये जो journey है within animals, it is only they have to live that life and move on. इसमें there is no action reaction. So if an animal breaks any laws, उसको कोई reaction वगैरह कुछ नहीं लगता है. For animals, there is nothing like that, because by nature they are less intelligent as compared to humans. Yeah.
प्रभु जी, अगर किसी बाय प्रोफेशन ही अगर कोई बुच्चर है तो फिर उसका तो बहुत बुरा हाल होगा.
बहुत ही बुरा होगा माता जी. And there is nothing that by profession you have to be a butcher. Every profession is a choice of ours. Okay. There is nothing like by profession. हाँ, unless you are in such a situation जहाँ पर there is no food available, मतलब तुम एंटार्क्टिका अलास्का में कहीं तो रह रहे हो जहाँ पर बिना काटे खाए तुम जी नहीं सकते, तो वो बात अलग है. Okay. But if you are living in a place where you have choice, but you choose such a profession just because there is little bit more money or something in that, I mean, you have to pay for that as reaction.
Okay.
Mataji, see, simple thing I'll tell you. This act of non-vegetarian is as good as terrorism. Okay. Think of a simple thing. You know, if tomorrow, if there are 3-4 goons, 3-4 गुंडे आपके घर में घुस जाते हैं और आपके बच्चे को ले जाते हैं, आपके सामने जबरदस्ती ले जाते हैं एंड उसको काट देते हैं. Imagine, you know, they go and cut. Now, if you go and complain to the government, okay, and these people say, hey, क्या complain कर रहे हो आप government को? We have the strength to do this activity. हमारे पास पैसा है, हम लोग गवर्नमेंट को खरीद सकते हैं और हमारे पास इतनी ताकत है कि we can overpower you. Then for in your eyes, these people are terrorist people, right? आज मतलब जो terrorists करते हैं वो क्या करते हैं? These terrorists have money, they have power, and because of money and power, वो लोग मासूम लोगों की जान लेते हैं and मासूम लोगों के ऊपर attacks करते हैं. That is terrorism. But if you take this same concept forward, it is the same thing we do with animals also. जो लोग non-veg खाते हैं, what do? They go to the butcher's place just because they have money or they have the buying power, and they get the right कि किसी भी एनिमल के बच्चे को वो काट के लाए या किसी भी एनिमल को वो काटे वहां पर. Isn't that terrorism towards animals? It is the same thing. Okay. It is
जी
the
जी
same
प्रभु
thing.
जी.
Yeah.
And the ones who own poultry farm, although they are not actually cutting them, लेकिन वो भी तो equally फिर इसमें है.
Yes, they get, see, it is simple, माता जी. अभी मान लो, you know, इंडिया का कोई बड़ा हस्ती है, like for example ये अंबानी के इसमें जब recent जो महाराष्ट्र में केस हो गया था, अंबानी के घर के सामने एक गाड़ी मिल गई थी, right? Now वो गाड़ी जिसने रखवाई उसको पकड़ा पहले, लेकिन उसको जिसने ये काम करने को बोला उसको भी पकड़ा. They all were punished. Similarly, just the person who kills the animal is not punished, but even the person who asked him to kill the animal is also punished. समझ में आया?
Yes, जी जी
हाँ.
जी.
So actually Shastra explains in the cycle of this non-vegetarian, the person who kills, the person who buys, the person who cooks, and the person who eats, they all get reactions. It is not that हाँ मैं तो सिर्फ बेच रहा हूँ, मैं थोड़ी ना खा रहा हूँ, you know, मैं तो ब्राह्मण हूँ लेकिन मेरा पोल्ट्री फार्म है, ऐसा नहीं चलता है.
Understood प्रभु जी.
Yeah.
पर प्रभु जी अगर सब में आत्मा है, पेड़ों में भी आत्मा है, then why how it is different from someone who is eating non-veg?
I didn't understand the question now.
हम पौधे काट रहे हैं, उसमें भी
हाँ.
सोल है. हम
हाँ.
पेड़ काट रहे हैं, उसमें भी सोल है. We are consuming, we are eating that.
Correct. हाँ, okay, I got your point. Okay. So
how it
when you are eating plants, then you are saying that there also there is pain, right? So then how it is different from non-vegetarian? So there are multiple things. One, everybody has a different क्या बोलते हैं उसकी जो कॉन्शियसनेस, चेतना जो होती है ना, that is at a very different levels. Like for example, we as humans or even animals, they have a very highly transformed consciousness. That means they feel the pain very easily, but the same pain is not felt in other bodies like the trees, या फिर ऐसा मोटे चमड़ा वगैरह जो होता है, they don't feel that pain. Okay, that is one thing. Second thing is, we don't kill plants. Okay, like for example, when you eat fruit, you're not killing the plant, but you are just plucking the fruit. Or when we eat grains, that time also the plant has completed its cycle. The plant has completed its cycle, and after that you are harvesting the plant. So you are not killing a live plant over there. Third thing, in the scriptures, it is allowed. Okay, but as you rightly said, there is also a reaction to that action. Okay, so every action has a reaction. Yes, that reaction might not be as gross as a reaction of killing an animal, but there is also a reaction for that. Okay,
But Prabhuji, when we are having herbs, वो तो हम पूरा plant खा रहे हैं ना, the full palak we are eating, not just the fruit.
but अगर तुम नहीं खाते तो वैसे भी वो पालक का प्लांट निकल ही जाता है ना. You're getting the point. तुम खाओ या ना खाओ, वो प्लांट तो वैसे ही निकल गया है, वो पूरा खत्म हो गया, उसका लाइफ उधर ही खत्म हो गया है.
Okay, okay, okay. Yes.
It's not that तुम अगर नहीं खाती तो वो और फूलता फलता या और 4 बच्चे पैदा करता है, ऐसा नहीं है उसका कुछ.
Yeah, understood.
It's like that. But again, the point which he pointed out is very right, that but still there is a reaction to it. Okay, and that is the one of the reason why we always offer food to God. जब हम लोग भगवान को भोग लगाते हैं, then it is called as bhoga. But after offering the food to God, when we accept the food, it is called as prasad. What we do in this process is that we offer the food to God, stating God that God, I don't know how much reactions I have undergone because in cooking this food. Okay, but I request you to please purify this food. By doing that action, is action को sacrifice कहते हैं. The act of offering it to God is called as sacrifice, and the act of sacrifice purifies the food. And when food is purified, it takes away these reactions. Okay. Now one might say, फिर उस तरह से हम लोग non-veg भी तो offer कर सकते हैं भगवान को. नहीं, non-veg you cannot offer to God because God has not accepted that in His offering. God has clearly stated what He accepts as offering. Patram pushpam phalam toyam. He has very clearly accepted. He has not mentioned anything about a non-vegetarian or anything like that. But He talks about vegetables and fruits and all those things. And that is why those are acceptable food items which you can offer to God. Okay, any questions? Any more questions? Okay, so if there are no further questions, then we stop the session here. We continue it next time. Last time, I think someone had put a question about time management. They wanted to understand about this whole time thing. So I've noted the question. See, well, it's difficult to answer the question in a very small time. Rather, I can conduct a complete session itself on time management. How you can manage the time, what are the things, disciplines that are necessary to do time management, and how we can track and monitor and all those things. So we can, I can conduct a session separately if you all want, a very separate session I can do. After this device, we will do that session if you want, a separate session. Okay, then. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your time. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hari Bol.